Right, now we're moving on to what I would describe, in a very affectionate way, the old farts. But I meant that in the nicest way, Rachel, I really did. Because what we're moving to are our silks, and you don't get to be a silk until you've been around a little while. Now, Rachel Doyle, SC, was admitted to the Victorian bar in 1996. You see, you can tell she's serious, look. She practices principally in industrial law, administrative law, equal opportunity law and common law negligence. She has trial and appellate practice. I'm not sure, are you touting for work or? Anyway, she regularly acts for individuals, unions and for state and federal governments and departments. Did you miss anyone? Now, prior to coming to the bar, Rachel was Associate to Sir Darrell Dawson at the High Court. Now, that's nice to be some people, isn't it? And worked part-time for the Director of Public Prosecutions whilst completing her law studies at Adelaide University. Rachel has participated in the Law Institute of Victoria debate during the Comedy Festival for a number of years. She took a year off in 2011. Why? So she could be the guest speaker at the bar dinner, a really easy gig. She is confident that you will certainly provide a far more lively audience than that one did. Rachel Doyle.
Good evening, comrades. Well, Sean has addressed you on why the size of the firm matters to the client, and Daniel has convinced you that the size matters to the solicitor that works in the firm. I'm now going to educate you why the size of the firm matters to the barrister. And I can give you a very unique perspective, but I won't trouble you by taking 15 minutes to put on my silk gown, that silk gown and wig, like Kim did. I'll just share with you some of my thoughts. Now, it might surprise you to learn I wasn't always a highly sought-after silk. No, when I started out, I started working for little labour law firms, doing, unfair dismissals down at the Fair Go Board or the Storm in a Teacup Tribunal. And on that topic, it's been troubling me lately. What is it with the name change from Australian Industrial Relations Commission to Fair Work Australia? What the fruit is Fair Work Australia? It sounds like a jurisdiction in search of a noun to me. What is it, a slogan, an aspiration? Is it a question? Fair Work Australia? I don't know. Anyway, when I started out working for the labour law firms, the briefs were small, literally. Physically, the brief often ran to nothing more than 2 pages, and even when I opened that was my own advice on prospects wrapped around a complaint with the client's number on a sticky label inside. But then I had some good fortune. I graduated to big firms, and I call them folder firms. I'll tell you why. Because when you're sitting in chambers, the brief comes in and it's rolled in on a series of metal trolleys filled with folders with the firm logo embossed on them. And usually someone lovely called Tim or Rochelle brings up the trolley. And then there's always this really awkward moment, sort of like when those men in the maroon suits are showing you into your private villa in Ubud. Tip or not to tip, I never know. I blank them till they leave. It's really embarrassing. And it's such a joy to open the first folder, because often the first folder, it's so impressive. It only contains an index to the rest of the folders. And then I usually shut the folder straight away and I spend some time plugging all the details into my fee simulator. Right, so if we estimate that one folder roughly translates to 1 day in court, which in turn will spawn 5 days of preparation, times that by the number of rows on the trolley, multiply that by the number of trolleys, subtract from that the cost of the printing of the 4,000 emails with PDF attachments that one of those big firms is going to send me with the jaunty subject header, FYI, to update your brief, print, print, print. Subtract the number I first thought of, times it by my grandmother's age, and happy days. I can afford to buy a beamer, remodel the kitchen and keep my kids in private school. The other brilliant thing about big briefs from big firms is that you have the luxury of working with a big team of solicitors. When I started out with small firms and legal aid, oh God, sorry, something stuck in my throat. One of the problems was all my instructions just came from one person, usually called Sharon or Simon, and that they had a mobile, but their messages always went off to a paging service, and their Big Pond email account inbox was always full. So I'd always get bounce back emails. So I'd send something off the night before, like, what the fuck does the charter have to do with this crash and bash in Springvale? Your inbox is full. Fuck! Now that I work for big firms on big cases, there's what we call litigation support. It's not an undergarment, it's just a really big team of solicitors. And if I ever see a little button solicitor floating around with nothing to do, I correct that situation straight off. Shasti, come in. Working on the matter now? You're going to love this. See this list of 2,753 documents? Someone's put them in chronological order. It's not going to do for my opening. Can you take them all out of the folder and reorder them according to the second letter in the third word on each page? Shrink them down to A2 size and print every second document single page and then every other document double-sided. You see what I mean? And then when Shasti comes back 6 hours later looking completely white, I'll say, that's good, but it's not enough. Now can you take them all out and this time group all the documents created in the month of December, regardless of year, and then all of the documents created in April, and I just want to see if a pattern develops. You see what I mean? Oh, and give me the doc IDs and upload them all to the electronic court book. Thanks, sweetheart. Big firms are the best because they can really fill a room like you're doing here tonight. Is there anybody in the house from Freehills? Say, well, let's give it up for Alan Arthur Robbs. Yeah. Let's make some noise for Mallisons. Oh, yeah, that's right. They changed their name to King and Wood Mallisons, didn't they? I looked up their website and I saw their fantastic slogan, the power of together. Wow. Sounds like the name of a Bryce Courtney novel, or worse, the slogan for a government-subsidised green energy campaign. I mean, it's just so popular now to merge with Asian firms. Every day I get these little pop-ups. Hello, we've now merged with another firm. We've got offices in Malaysia, Singapore, Shanghai. I looked up Alan Arthur Robbs and their website proudly proclaims they now have an office in Ulaanbaatar. That's in Mongolia. That's just showing off. And I'd really love to know how they sell that particular rotation. Come in, Felicity, sit down. After all of your great work on the Big Co matter, you're going to be posted to Ulaanbaatar. And you'll be working out of a great office yurt. You're going to really love it. I just love the slogans of the big firms. Blake Dawson Waldron, it's now called Ashurst, and it is Australia's new global law firm. Those sort of grandiose slogans won't work for a little firm like the one Kim works at. I mean, there's no point devoting your energy to having your website saying things like, second largest firm in Springvale, yay! Or advertising that you style yourselves as a really quite large firm in Hampton. When I was checking out websites of firms, I was reminded of the phenomenon of firms that use made-up names or retain the names of people who've long since gone. There is a brilliant firm in Hobart, located at 149 Little A Macquarie Street. You get the drift. Their name is Wong, McDermott and White. Mr. McDermott left in 1980. But you can see why Mr. Wong and Mr. White just have to keep his name in there, don't you? An even starker example of the use of fake names comes from the opposite end of the scale, a really big firm from China called Bright and Wright. There is no sign that there ever was a Ms. Bright or a Mr. Wright. It seems that Bright and Wright are not proper nouns, but rather adjectives selected to describe their staff, and the website is brilliant. Once you get through the Confucian says sort of bits, there's charming slogans like excellence, persistence, intelligence, persistence. I think the repetition there is supposed to underscore the fact that they're persistent. And the website proudly proclaims for 20 years, in and out of China, we have committed ourselves to serving our local and international clients with heart and hand. What service were they providing their clients by hand? I'm way confused. And then their homepage also proclaims proudly, our members share similar career aspiration and life goals, combining rich talent and high moral standards. Shit. Sounds like an RSVP site which matches the firms with the clients. What's next? Candlelit dinners and a walk along the beach at sunset holding hands? I don't know. And to wrap up, I hear you. A couple of examples from closer to home. Slater and Gordon modestly pronounce, no challenge too great. Morris Blackburn, we fight for fair. Trademark. Those slogans are big, they're impressive and clever. They don't want to get done for misleading and deceptive conduct. Notice, Slater and Gordon, big firm now, they don't say we win every challenge. They say no challenge is too great. Morris Blackburn don't say they win every fight, just that they fight. And, you know, we fight for fair. Obviously, they don't throw any punches in honour of complete or grammatically correct sentences either, but they fight. Compare these powerful, throbbing bylines with the poor country cousins known as suburban firms. I found a website for a poor little suburban outfit called MK Law, where MK is just really his initials, and his slogan is down-to-earth attitude. And fees. I love the way he added fees after that. The last example I want to give you, and I promise I'll wrap up, is about the phenomenon of the boutique practice. We all know that's just a fancy name for a shit-kicker suburban firm that found itself premises in the city. Speaking of which, I recently came across a firm whose address was actually identified as the mezzanine level of a building on Queen Street. What is this, being John Malkovich? Their office occupies half a floor. Must anyone who attends for a conference spend the whole time bent from the waist? What happens if you go for a meeting? Not so much step into my office, just step into my stairwell. Seriously. It's not big, it's not glamorous, and it's not good enough. Thank you.
I sympathise with Rachel's point to a degree. I have a friend that I was at university with who has a firm, and it is her maiden name and her 3 married surnames. I've always been a bit troubled by it, but there you go.